It was March 5th. I remember the date because I was folding laundry when Cheryl, my old co-worker from the pharmacy, texted me a photo. "Look who's getting married. Your boy cleans up nice." The picture showed my son, Nathan, and his fiancée in front of a fountain. Engagement shoot. Gold cursive across the top. Save the date, April 22nd. Ceremony at Oak Hill Vineyards. I stared at the screen. Nothing in my mailbox. Nothing in my email. I scrolled back through texts. The last one from Nathan was 3 weeks ago. "Need your SSN for the caterer invoice. No rush, no. Hey, we're sending invitations. No. We picked a venue. Not even a mom mark your calendar." I didn't text back. Just sat there on the edge of the couch, still holding a damp sock. My hands felt cold. That night, I made decaf at 8:17 p.m. I remember the time because I let it sit too long and had to microwave it twice. When I finally took a sip, it tasted burned. Like I'd done something wrong. I called Cheryl. "You didn't know?" she asked. "I thought it was just a small wedding. Didn't want to ask in case it was, complicated." It was complicated. But not in the way people think. Not anger. Not yelling. Just a steady freezing over. Quiet. Like someone leaving the house and never locking the door behind them. The next morning, I walked into my credit union to check my account. The receptionist, Maya, looked up and smiled. "You're back again. That wedding stuff really piling up, huh?" I smiled. Didn't answer. Just asked for a transaction list. Saw the last wire transfer, $3,000. Labeled venue deposit. They used my account, my name, my credit, but skipped the envelope. People always say family means you don't need to ask, so I wrote it down in my notebook. If that's true, why do they always ask when it's about money, not presents? I drove home in my old silver Camry, windows down, even though it was chilly. Somewhere between the second red light and the gas station, I realized I'd seen the signs. I just kept brushing them off. For peace. For the grandbaby. I parked. Didn't go inside right away. Just sat there. Keys still in the ignition, looking at nothing. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. From Nathan. And that's when I decided to call the venue. March 7th, 10:42 a.m. I was at the Wells Fargo branch on McKinley Avenue's second window from the front. I wore the same blue cardigan I'd had on when Nathan was born, pure habit. It still smelled faintly like storage and detergent. I slid the transfer form across the glass. $5,800. Final payment for the venue. Routing number already filled in. The teller, a young woman with a thick braid and chipped pink polish, looked up. "You've helped with a few of these, haven't you?" I nodded. "You must be proud." I didn't answer. Just tapped the paper twice and said, "Please confirm the amount." She keyed it in. I watched the screen, watched the numbers leave. On the way out, I stopped at the ATM just to check the balance again. Not because I didn't trust the system, but because I didn't trust what I was doing. If I'm not invited, why am I still paying? I got back in my car. Same Camry. Same silence. I sat there holding the receipt like it might turn into something else if I stared long enough. Later that afternoon, I called my cousin Joanne. She doesn't sugarcoat. "You wired more money," she asked. "Did they even say, 'Thank you'?" "No. So why'd you do it?" I didn't have a clean answer. I said something about not wanting Nathan to be embarrassed if the venue called about a missing payment. She didn't judge. Just said one day they'll ask again. What will you say? Then I should have said I'd think about it. But the truth, I was afraid. Not of them, of losing whatever was left. I kept picturing my granddaughter's face. I hadn't seen her in 2 months. What if this was the price to stay close? Still, I wrote one question down that night. If it's really family, why do I feel like a transaction? The next morning, I finally called Oak Hill Vineyards. Not to complain, just to ask whose name was still on the contract. March 10th, 12 p.m. I was in line at CVS picking up allergy meds when Trina, my neighbor's daughter, came up behind me, holding a stack of party favors. "Miss Helen? I saw your son's invitation. Super cute, by the way." I blinked. "You got one." "Yeah," she said. "My mom works with the bride's uncle. They invited the whole office." "Look, it's on my phone." She pulled it up. Same gold font, same venue. But it was a full invitation, not the save the date Cheryl sent. And this one had meal choices listed. I scrolled with my thumb. 46 names were CC'd on the RSVP chain. Mine wasn't there. I handed her back the phone. Bought the meds. Didn't say much. Outside, I sat in my car with the AC off and the windows cracked. It was warm for March. The receipt stuck to my palm. I'd told myself maybe it was just a small thing. Maybe they didn't send paper invites. Maybe I'd get a last-minute call. But now I knew the invite existed, and it wasn't lost in the mail. That night, I texted Nathan. "Hey, just checking, am I still needed for anything venue-wise?" He replied 10 minutes later, "All good, Mom. Love you." Not a word about the invitation. Not even a lie. Just a pat on the head. Joanne called me the next morning to ask about Easter plans. I told her what happened. She paused, then said, "You're paying. You're not invited. You're being managed." I didn't argue. But it stung more than I thought it would. I hated that I saw it too late. I hated that part of me still hoped he'd call explain, say it was a mix-up. I kept thinking, if they didn't want me there, why not just pay for it themselves? And if I wasn't welcome, why was my name still on the bill? I printed out that text, filed it in a red folder with the wire transfer receipts. Then I looked up Oak Hill's business hours and set a reminder. They opened at 9. I'd be calling at 9:01, March 11th. I waited until exactly 9:01 a.m. Then dialed Oak Hill Vineyards from my kitchen coffee, still hot, sitting in my old robe. I used my pharmacy voice, calm, clipped, polite. Told the receptionist I was calling to confirm details for the April 22nd event under Nathan Cooper's name. Said I was the coordinator. She didn't even hesitate. Pulled up the file and said, "Yes, wedding ceremony and reception. Balance fully paid. Name on contract, Helen Cooper." That was me. I asked if any changes had been made to the contact info. "Nope," she said. "Still the same number and email." "Yours correct," I said, even though no one had contacted me in weeks. Then she said, "Do you need the guest list resent? Or just vendor confirmations?" I didn't answer right away. Just stared at the notepad where I'd scribbled talking points. "No, thank you," I said. That's all I needed. I hung up, took a breath, then took another. At 11:00, I brought my folder to the UPS store on Green Street and made 2 certified copies. One I mailed to myself. One I gave to my friend Connie, who works part-time for a notary. "You need me to file anything official?" she asked. "Not yet. Just hold on to it." She nodded. "Your name's on the paper. Don't let them pretend otherwise." I didn't feel powerful walking out. I felt stupid. For not checking sooner, for letting them use me like a credit card, and then toss the card away before the photos. All that talk about family comes first, but I kept thinking, if family means so much, why does it only show up when bills are due? That night, I reheated leftovers and wrote a short email. No threats. Just clarity. Please remove me as payer of record on the venue. I am no longer available for coordination. Kindly update your files. No reply came, but the next morning, Nathan texted, "We need to talk." March 14th, 7:46 p.m. I was folding laundry, the news playing low in the background, when my phone buzzed. It was a video from Cheryl's group chat, probably sent by mistake. The thumbnail showed Nathan in a tux-fitting room, grinning. I clicked play. Cheryl's voice was off camera. "Are we sure about not inviting her? Won't it look weird?" Nathan laughed. Please. We need her money, not her face. She wouldn't fit in with her sweater sets and lecture tone. A few other voices laughed. One of them called me the ATM with guilt. I didn't finish the video. I paused it. Sat there staring at the pile of towels I'd just folded. I picked up the top one and refolded it twice. Like that had stopped my hands from shaking. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I forwarded the video to my own email, saved it, then deleted the message. I wanted to scream. If I'm so embarrassing, why is my name on every check I walked outside and called Joanne? She answered on the second ring. I didn't sugarcoat it. They said they just want the money I told her. Not my face. Silence. Then she said, "You sure you're done helping?" Now I didn't answer right away. I just looked up at the street lamp flickering at the corner of Cypress and 9th. Same lamp that used to light up Nathan's old bike when he'd come home late. I whispered, I should have known when they stopped saying thank you. And I meant it. I'd ignored so many signs, Cheryl talking over me, Nathan only calling when bills were due, being left off RSVP lists. I kept thinking it would change if I just stayed kind. But now I had their words. Their real ones. Recorded and careless. And if they ever came back with the "We're family" line, I had one question ready. If it's family, why'd I hear it through strangers' laughter? The next morning, I sent one email to a lawyer named Marion Fletcher. Joanne gave me her number, March 15th, 2:08 p.m. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and the video file on a USB beside it. I didn't play it again. I didn't need to. I logged into my bank account instead. 2 clicks to payments. 3 to authorized users. Nathan's name was still there, spelled wrong, like it always had been. I hovered for a second, then pressed remove. The screen asked me to confirm. I did. Nothing dramatic happened. No alarm, no red warning, just a clean refresh and a smaller list. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A missed call. Then a text. Hey, Mom, did something change with the account? The venue says they can't process an update. I didn't reply. I made tea, forgot about it. Reheated it, then poured it out. My hands were steady, but my stomach felt hollow. I opened my notes app and wrote one line. If you can pay, why do you need my access? Another line followed. If this is family, why does every conversation start with a request? At 3:30, I walked into the credit union to make sure nothing else was tied to me. Maya waved me over. Everything okay, she asked. I need to revoke payer authority, I said. She nodded, clicked through the screen and said, done. Happens more than you think. That stung. Not because she was wrong, but because I'd been pretending I was different. I sat in my car afterward and let myself feel it. The shame. The part where I wondered if I'd trained him to treat me this way by always saying yes. The fear that he'd keep my granddaughter from me once he realized I wasn't useful. I hated that fear. I hated that it worked on me. At 4:12, another text came through. This one shorter. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I forwarded the video file to myself again, labeled it with the date, and locked it in a folder. Then I opened my calendar and marked the rehearsal dinner night just to see what they'd do next. March 18th, 10:52 a.m. I was at Walgreens picking up joint cream and vitamins when the text came in from Cheryl. Not Nathan. Not even a call. Just 5 words. You can come if you want. No time. No seat. No mention of the money I'd already wired. No apology for the video. Just a lukewarm offer tossed like scraps. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Then I typed 3 words. I'm busy. Send pictures. Sent it. Kept walking. They thought I'd be grateful. That I'd leap at the chance to sit at the back like an afterthought. What they didn't get was this: if I meant so little, why even bother texting now? Later that day, I told Joanne over lunch at Nick's Diner chicken salad and bad coffee. She raised her eyebrows and said, "That's not an invite. That's bait." I nodded. "They just want to say they asked." She tapped her fork. "If they really wanted you there, you wouldn't have to pack your own chair." We laughed, but it hit me on the drive home. I'd lowered myself for too long, covered bills, bit my tongue, ignored the look Cheryl gave me when I brought over secondhand books for my granddaughter, pretended not to notice when Nathan's tone shifted from mom to can you, and still part of me hoped they'd come to their senses. That morning, I stood at my closet touching a blue cardigan I thought I'd wear to the wedding. I put it back. I shouldn't have left it hanging that long. That text, "Come if you want," wasn't an invitation. It was a test. One last tug to see if I'd break. I didn't. I called Marion, the lawyer, gave her the event date, and asked, "Can we make sure nothing tied to me gets used that day?" She said, "Let me pull the documents." Want it airtight. Yes. And quiet. Then I bought a round-trip ticket to Las Vegas for March 23rd, $438 on my Southwest Rapid Rewards. Non-refundable. April 22nd, 6th, 18 p.m. I was sitting at a small table near the windows at McCarran, a paper cup of coffee going cold, watching planes crawl across the runway. My phone buzzed with photos, champagne flutes, white roses, a crowd smiling wide. Someone had tagged me by mistake and then quickly untagged. I didn't open the comments. I opened my contacts and tapped Oak Hill Vineyards. The woman who answered sounded rushed. Music in the background. I gave my name. She pulled the file fast. "Yes, Helen Cooper. You're the payer of record. I need to withdraw authorization for tonight," I said. "Effective immediately." There was a pause. Then a keyboard. "I'll need written confirmation." I sent it at 5:59, I said. "From the email on file." Another pause. "I see it." I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I asked one thing. "Please note the time." She said, "Noted." At the next table, Joanne was stirring sugar into her coffee. She'd flown in with me for the weekend, said she didn't want me alone. She leaned over and whispered, "You okay? I'm shaking." I said, "But I'm done." My phone rang. Nathan. I let it ring. Then a text from him, short and sharp. "What did you do?" I stared at the screen and thought, if you could pay, why did you need my name? If this was family, why did it start with a bill and end with a joke about my face? I didn't send those questions. I sent nothing. A minute later, a number I didn't know called. I answered. It was the venue manager. "There's confusion here," he said. "They're asking us to process payment." "I've withdrawn consent," I said. "Please follow the contract." He exhaled. Understood. I hung up and felt the weight hit. The part where I blamed myself for the wires, the silence, the years I mistook access for love. I swallowed. My chest hurt. I hated that it still hurt. Joanne squeezed my hand. "They'll figure it out," she said. I watched a plane lift off and knew the figuring out had already begun. At exactly 7:44 p.m. on April 22nd, the manager of Oak Hill stepped into the reception tent with a folder in hand and a radio clipped to his belt. The music was loud, some Bruno Mars remix, and the guests were mid-toast. My son had a glass of champagne lifted. His bride's parents sat front row grinning like it was their show. Then the manager tapped my son's shoulder. The music didn't cut, but the mood did. He spoke quietly, firm. "We need the balance settled now. The card on file has been revoked. We were told the payer of record no longer consents to cover." My son blinked, then turned red. He looked toward his new in-laws, like it was their cue. The bride's mother mouthed something. Her father stood, hand already reaching into his blazer. Then came the question that scattered it all. Why is her name still on the contract? I didn't hear that live, but Joanne's cousin was there. She texted me, "Helen, they're scrambling." Staff just paused the bar. Nathan texted next. Just one word. Why I didn't answer. Instead, I stared at that question. Why what? Why did I finally say no? Why did I stop letting you use me while pretending I was invisible? Then another message. This is embarrassing. You could have warned us. I typed and deleted twice. Then sent. You could have invited me. The phone went silent. But I imagined the rest voices rising, father-in-law snapping, I'm not paying $28,000 for a party we didn't even plan. Bride crying, someone finally realizing who'd been covering this whole thing. Joanne looked up from her salad. You think they'll call again? They will, I said, but not to apologize. What stung was knowing I'd ignored so many signs, snide comments, delays in repayment, the way my name was always useful, but my presence never was. I sipped my coffee lukewarm now and opened my laptop. There was one more thing I needed to do before the night ended. I sat at Mon Ami Gabi across from the Bellagio fountains, 9:15 a.m. sharp. My coffee was black, 4-door-25, and too hot. I let it sit. My phone vibrated 5 times in 1 minute. I didn't flip it. I just watched the first burst of water shoot up. The waiter, a kid no older than my youngest niece, asked, Want me to take a photo for you? I shook my head. No thanks. I'm just being here. He smiled, backed off. The night before, while they panicked over the bill, I was booking this table. I picked a window seat, requested no sugar in my coffee, and brought a real book, the paper kind. No headlines, no notifications. The only thing I checked was my receipt. Nathan hadn't texted again. But someone else had his wife. First it was, please respond. Then you've embarrassed everyone. Then you'll regret this. Funny how the people who exclude you still expect your silence to be polite. I tapped the edge of my cup. The foam had collapsed. I took a sip. Still warm. Still bitter. If they could afford a $30,000 wedding, why was my name still on the venue? If I was so difficult, why'd they keep my credit on file, but not my chair at the ceremony? Judy called around. 10:10. She knew where I was. They're still calling, she said. Even asked if you were unstable. I laughed once, not proud of it. If stability means paying and vanishing, then maybe I'm not. Want me to block them? No need, I said. Let them talk. I'm not replying. What I didn't say, I did cry once after Chapter 5. Not over the money or the lie, but because I still kept the old birthday drawings Nathan made in 2nd grade. I had folded them neatly next to my passport before the flight. I stood up, left a tip, and walked toward the fountains. There was still one message I needed to send, just not to them.